Welcome back everyone, and it's time to go balls deep, this time into Jujutsu Kaisen. The anime has finally aired where we are a couple of episodes in, and at the moment the manga is only around 130 chapters or so. All of you guys can practically catch up in no time. You can also join our communities by smashing that like button and hitting the notification bell, because we will explain everything you guys need to know. That way you can enjoy the anime or manga a lot more. But guys, if it wasn't obvious from the title, this video is about the king of curses, Ryomen Sukuna, and the different ranks of curses. On top of that, we have a first-hand origin theory which we literally came up with while streaming on Twitch watching the episode. So if you guys want to be part of our theories and discussions, make sure to tune in to our weekly JJK episode reaction on Fridays at twitch.tv/animeballsdeep. Ryomen Sukuna is actually a character based on Japanese legends. According to the Japanese wiki corpus, Sukuna was said to be some sort of spirit who appeared in the Hida province in ancient times, in the reign of Emperor Nintoku. And from the Nihon Shoki, which is a collection of historical Japanese legends and texts established in the Nara period, it states, and I quote from the corpus, that Sukuna had two faces on the front and back of his head, similar to that of Janus in the Roman mythology, and it had two pairs of arms and two pairs of legs. Each pair was on the front and the back of the body. It had a bow, arrow and a sword in its hands. It was also said to be quick-witted and had superhuman strength. And one thing to note, that the corpus refers to Sukuna as it, enforcing the idea that it wasn't human. However, while the Nihon Shoki describes Sukuna as a villain and an enemy of the emperor, people in the Hida and Mino province treated Ryomen Sukuna as a hero and benefactor, to the point of even worshipping him. Now with that inspiration from the Nihon Shoki legends, I'm sure Gege Akutami came up with this overpowered spirit Ryomen Sukuna for his JJK universe. And you lot can bet your asses that I'm going to be using all of this information to come out with our balls deep theory. So make sure you watch this video till the end. But before we go into who Ryomen Sukuna is in the JJK series, we need to run through exactly what he is. Yes guys, I'm talking about what the heck is this guy? Like I choked on my spit. Bruh. Most of you just starting this series don't even know what the hell is curses and cursed spirit. Well, in our last video we went over the fundamental energy that runs through this universe, curse energy, that is responsible for all supernatural that occurs in this series. Make sure to check that video out so you guys can get a better understanding of this type of energy. Basically, from shamans to curse spirits to curse techniques, literally everything is pretty much powered by this energy. These curse energies are created from the negative emotions and thoughts of human beings, from fear to anger to even potential feelings of sadness or pain. We highly suggest, if you want to understand the power scaling of Jujutsu Kaisen and what curse energy is, to please check out our previous video, cause let's be honest, I ain't gonna re-explain everything here, but in this series there are more or less 3 categories that constitute manipulating this particular energy, which are curses or curse spirits per se, shamans and curse users. First we have our curses itself, or also known as curse spirits, which are basically living embodiment of curse energy, and when a particular thought or feeling is felt by a number of individuals, then this energy will take form. The more energy this feeling or thought is given, then the stronger the form of this curse. The curse spirit usually takes the form of the thought or fear itself. Examples are like the curse spirit Jogo, who was formed from the fear of volcanoes. Like, look at this dude's head, it pretty much says it all. Another example is a curse formed from the fear of grasshoppers. This spirit took the form of a grasshopper. There is also another form of curse spirits known as vengeful spirits, basically humans who transform into curses after their death due to any intense negative circumstance they went through before they died. This is important and kind of comes back to Sukuna, so make sure you remember that. Now the second group, shamans, are pretty much just human beings who fight or suppress these curses. Most of them have some basic control over curse energy, being able to manipulate it given their trait. The third groups are much like the shamans, being humans who have power over controlling curse energy, but curse users do not fight the curse spirits. Rather, they use this power for their own selfish reasons. They usually make a gain in the world by summoning curses or using their curse energy to potentially harm others. Now I said there are 3 categories, but there is actually one more, one called Cursed Womb. But for now, just think of them as cursed spirits. We'll go more balls deep on them in a separate video. There is also cursed objects, which are basically objects imbued with cursed energy. We have things like overpowered weapons that can defeat cursed spirits, to even objects that has the actual cursed spirit within them, like Sukuna's fingers, which we will come to in a bit. Now all of these groups' powers are actually graded into different categories, starting from the lowest grade 4, grade 3, grade grade 2, grade 1 and then special grade. Now usually a graded shaman should be able to handle any cursed spirits with a similar grade or higher, meaning a grade 1 shaman should be able to sort out a special grade cursed spirit. By the way, I said should be, but it's not necessarily the case all the time, as even amongst special grade cursed spirits there are different levels. Like for example, with that grade some of them are strong enough to even communicate and even interact on a higher level, and the strongest amongst the special grade usually can perform a technique called domain expansion. As explained in chapter 30, domain expansion is basically an area constructed with cursed energy. Once trapped inside, all hits are fatal and cannot be evaded. This is possibly one of the strongest techniques in the series. Super strong shamans can also perform it, like Gojo for instance has one of the most broken ass domain expansion to exist. And this is where we come to Ryomen Sukuna. As explained in the first episode, he is a special grade curse spirit, but not any ordinary one. He is the king of curses. Yes, pretty much the final supreme king of all curse. The highest and most powerful special grade curse in the entire series. What we know so far from the anime is that Itadori has become Sukuna's vessel, as his cursed spirit and energy were sealed away as cursed objects, which were his fingers, and Itadori ate one of those fingers. Usually, an ordinary person would have died or completely be possessed. However, Itadori, being a special person with a special kind of soul, can withstand the power and curse, ultimately being able to control his consciousness and the power. So this raises the question, why can Itadori do this? Well, stick around till the end of the video. Anyways, in total there are 20 pieces of fingers to be collected, as Sukuna in his original spirit form had 4 arms. Yes, very similar to the real life Japanese mythology. And since Sukuna's cursed spirit and energy cannot be destroyed by any other regular mean, the plan that the Jujutsu Shaman have made is for Itadori to eat all 20 pieces, and then for him to die along with Sukuna. This could be the only way to 100% kill Sukuna with their knowledge so far. Sukuna's cursed object fingers are spread across the world and is causing harm to random people to the point of even killing them. So since Itadori wants to be someone that can give people a satisfying death or at least save them, he ends up agreeing with this plan for now, since both options he was given by society, well, was either to die now with one finger and let the other curses keep harming people, or number 2, use his ability to eat all the fingers and then die. Itadori has chosen option 2 for now, as he comes to the conclusion that he should be a person who saves as many people as possible, just like his grandfather told him to, and he shouldn't die like he did, all alone and not achieving any dreams. Now, in regards to the king of cursed spirits, in chapter 3, Gojo, yes, our OG Kakashi looking stud, explained to us that according to the legend, Sukuna was an infamous demon with 4 arms and 2 faces. Again, a throwback to Sukuna's story from the Nihon Shoki. But Gojo goes on to state that whilst this is true, the reality is he was a human during the prime era of Jujutsu 1000 years ago, and all the shamans gave their best to defeat him, but were unable to do so. Even after his death, the greatest shamans weren't able to destroy his body, where he would then live on through time in the form of cursed objects, in which, as stated earlier, was 20 of his fingers. Now, the specifics isn't explained, but a theory I have is that these cursed objects works in a similar way to the Horcrux from Harry Potter. Okay, I mean that 20 of his fingers not only have Sukuna's cursed energy, but his souls. Now, these fingers are high concentration of negativity that are slowly gathering more and more power as time passes on. This means it's getting more dangerous for civilians, and the world as a whole is in danger, as Sukuna's fingers also attract curses instead of repelling them. We also know that several other spirits have actually consumed the fingers, but none of these spirits seem to be under the control of a fragment of Sukuna's soul and are using it as a form of a battery, which indicates that Sukuna's soul requires a human host to materialize, or maybe a Pacific human host, but that's another story for another day. Anyways, with that, let's finally talk about Sukuna's abilities and powers. As we already know, Sukuna is the king of all curses, so he has to have some pretty flashy abilities considering his rank, right? Well, Sukuna's domain expansion is called Fukuma Mizushi. I'm sure I pretty much butchered that name, so let's just stick with the English translation of it. Malevolent Shrine. It sounds pretty epic if you ask me. This territorial expansion ability creates a Japanese shrine with a bunch of skulls scattered around. We see Sukuna use this ability for the first time in chapter 8, so if you guys are an anime only watcher, get ready to have your minds blown. But a thing to note is that Sukuna's expansion is actually different from the other domain expansions, where it doesn't actually create a separate space with a barrier. Rather, by allowing an escape route, a binding vow is established. This actually increases the guaranteed hit effective area with a maximum radius by 200 meters. Now, we also see a similar shrine with the soul realm of Itadori, where Sukuna currently lives and probably calls it his home. And in chapter 11, we essentially see both Sukuna and Itadori with their souls manifested as bodies within Sukuna's territory in order to have a conversation. Sukuna's soul actually looks pretty much like Itadori's if you look at them both side by side. And I'm not just saying this because they both share the same body, but even in flashbacks, we see Sukuna looking very similar to Itadori. And I don't think this was a coincidence. I'm pretty sure this was done on purpose if you ask me. But coming back to Sukuna's ability, he not only has this broken expansion ability, but he also possesses super strength, super speed, super reflexes, super regeneration, metamorphosis, where he can create new eyes, mouths, and pretty much heal his host. And his durability is off the charts, as we saw in chapter 110, where this man got flung through buildings with no scratches on him.
Of course!
Now here is where I will tell you guys what Sukuna's curse techniques are, but we don't know what that is yet. But we do know that he can mimic other techniques, as he done with the volcano curse spirit Gojo. But with that, we do know some of his cursed energy uses, like his slashes against enemies is called Dismantle or Kai. But this is just his basic slashing ability to get rid of fodders like Konohamaru and the other trash villains. But seriously, his other slashing attack is called Hachi or Cleave. This attack just adjusts itself depending on the target's toughness and cursed energy levels to cut them down in one hit. And another trait which follows him is that being the king of curses, he's also the king of lethal poisons and immune to all toxins. This effect is actually passed on to Itadori being his vessel. In personality wise, Sukuna is described as having no concern for anyone but himself. He only exists for leisure, but we actually don't know his ulterior motive. And on that topic, now that you guys have a brief summary about Sukuna, let's get into our theory. Our theory is quite simple. Over 1,000 years ago, Sukuna was once a very powerful Jujutsu Shaman. And when I mean powerful, we are talking about Gojo level or probably even stronger. Either way, according to our theory, Sukuna later defected the Shaman's circle, ultimately becoming one of the most powerful curse users to exist. At that time, he realized the truth and mystery behind the soul and cursed energy, which everyone is still disputing to this point. Like for instance, if the soul and body are one or separate, does the soul come first or the body? And where is the soul in the first place? Likewise with cursed energy, what exactly is cursed energy and why does it take form of living spirits with their own consciousness? All of these questions came to light to Sukuna, and with Sukuna's knowledge of this, he rebelled against the Jujutsu world and the humans who caused the evil in the world to exist. However, Sukuna was not alone, and he had so many followers who worshipped him and many enemies who feared him. These feelings from his followers and enemies alike fueled Sukuna further. With his ability to harness cursed energy, he himself became demon-like, akin to the gods. However, Sukuna eventually died and the cause of death isn't explained, but it isn't far-fetched to assume a strong shaman did end up killing him, or he just probably died of being involved with his curses. Either way, after his death, Sukuna lived on as a cursed spirit, similar to those of a vengeful spirit, but much greater, as he himself was feared amongst the world during this era. That fear actually made Sukuna the strongest special grade cursed spirit, and to transcend time, he lived on within his own fingers. And one of his followers who lived on is actually working behind the scenes manipulating events in the background. Yes, I'm talking about Urame for all you manga readers, you know who I'm talking about. Either way, due to Sukuna's cursed object fingers being undestroyable, the Jujutsu higher ups kept it under wraps, trying to retrieve as many as they could. However, because the cursed object started absorbing more cursed energy as time went on, Sukuna's fingers eventually started luring other curses. And when Itadori ate one of the fingers, it triggered a chain event lightening up and resonating to all the other ones. But on that topic, coming back to Itadori, there are questions like, why did his granddad say, I need to tell you something about your parents before he died? Why does Itadori look like Sukuna? And how did Itadori survive the process of eating the finger? After all, a cursed object is a lethal weapon, where in reality Itadori should have died. However, him surviving was only 1 in a million chance, yet it happened. So, is it coincidence? Is it just Itadori's special? Or is there a connection? Well, so far we came up with 3 possibilities. One, that Sukuna himself, when he was a human, was from a sacred shaman line, and his siblings might have been the ancestor to Itadori's family. Or Sukuna himself must have had children when he was a shaman and created an offset family bloodline. Those 2 possibilities means that Itadori is related to Sukuna directly. The last possibility is that the shaman who managed to actually seal Sukuna into 10 fingers is the ancestor of Itadori's family. Whichever is the case, all of these possibilities in some ways gave Itadori that 1 in a million chance to withstand his power and consciousness. And all of this might also explain Itadori's insane strength and affinity towards Sukuna. But with everything, I hope we explained at least the basics on who Sukuna is. If you guys want more content like this, smash that like button and let us know what you want us to cover next down below. With that guys, I'll catch you lot till next time.